lessons that we learned
aren't allowed to enjoy the freedoms.
I disagree with you on that, Don. I disagree with you. And I think you're doing a disservice to our country by failing to recognize the fact that we have equality before the law.
I'm Don Lemon, and he makes $10 million a year. He wants you to believe that you are in chains. This is modern day slavery because white supremacy exists and it's real. The liberal media, they get mad at you. They're having a healthy debate and they get mad at you when you start telling like the truth. Welcome back, you guys, to my channel. Donna Lemon, once again, is having a hissy fit. This time, he is mad because GOP presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy actually gave Don Lemon a history lesson. And Donna got his panties all up in the bunch and got mad at this guy. We're going to take a look at this.
Your campaign slogan is a new American dream, and I was reading through your platform last night. I wonder what you would do specifically to actually bring us together, not just Republicans and Democrats. What does unity look like to you, Vivek, for rich and poor, for rural and urban, for Republicans and Democrats?
That is the right question to be asking. And I think the main divide in this country, and I say this to conservative audiences equally, is not between Republicans and Democrats. It is between those of us who are pro-American, embracing the ideals that set this country into motion, and I think an increasing strain in this country that is anti-American, that wishes to apologize for a nation founded on those ideals. But that's not a 50-50 split. I think most people are in the pro-American camp. And Poppi, I think one of the ways they would say we get to national unity, some people think, is by showing up in the middle and compromising. I respect that view, but I reject it.
You reject compromise?
I reject compromising on our principles. I think that the right way to get to national unity, and I mean this, to unite this country, is by embracing actually the radicalism of the American ideals themselves. We celebrate our diversity and differences. I'm glad we have some 3 different shades of melanin on this set right now, 2 different genders. That's fine, but what I say is, so what? That diversity is meaningless unless there's something greater that binds us together, that unites us across that diversity. And I'm running for president to revive those ideals that bind us together across our diverse attributes.
So what was wrong with this statement? Can anybody tell me? He was saying that we need something that holds us together, not break us apart, but something that we could unify on. Just because we are from different backgrounds, we have different cultures. What is wrong with bringing everyone together, no matter the skin color, no matter your ethnicity? We could come together and make a stronger country, basically. And this is what he's running on. So can anybody tell me, what did he say wrong? Well, apparently he said something wrong, because this show is about to go off the rails. Yeah, I think it's normal, but it's not about to be normal.
I want to get into a few issues, one of them being China. Before I get to China, I just want to better understand something you said this week speaking before the audience at the NRA. Here's what you said, referring to back to 1865. Here it was.
I want you to raise your hand if you know when the first anti-gun laws were passed in this country. Raise your hand if you do. 1865. You want to know when it happened? We fought a civil war in this country to give black Americans the equal protection under the law that we failed to secure them in 1776. But then you want to know what happened? Southern states passed anti-gun laws that stopped black people from owning guns. The Democrat Party, then as in now, wanted to put them back in chains.
Then as in now, that's quite an accusation about the current Democratic Party. Who and what were you referring to?
I was referring to Joe Biden and his expression of wanting to put them back in chains, dating back to Lyndon Johnson. I think Lyndon Johnson's so-called Great Society was one of the greatest misnomers in American political history, where even back then in the 1960s, 70% plus of black kids were born into 2-parent homes. Today, that number is less than 30% in the opposite direction. The very policies that we implemented in this country in the name of helping black Americans have actually been disastrous for black Americans and all Americans.
Disastrous, you guys. We have failed back in time, or not even failed back in time. Before desegregation, our families were strong. And when I say our family, I'm talking about the Black community. We might not have been the richest, but we were thriving. And we actually own land and own property. And if somebody told us we couldn't go to a particular store, like you see they rioting and looting in Walmart, if someone said, oh, you cannot, we don't want your business here, you know what we did? We built a grocery store that our people could go to. But for some reason, since we got on the Democratic train, we have fallen back in time. All the policies, and he's very correct, all the policies that they've put forth to say per se help the Black community, it really destroyed our community. There's a study that was, and you could pull it up on YouTube, that was done before desegregation, and coming to find out, they found that Black folks paid their bills on time and early. That's why they start advertising to Black people. The study is called Secrets to Selling to the Negro. If you pull it up, and it was done in 1954. So that's why they started, that's why desegregation happened, because they wanted your dollar. The Democratic Party, they saw Martin Luther King had some type of power and some pull with the Black community. That's why they made a deal with Dr. Martin Luther King. They talking about March to Freedom or whatever the thing that they marched to. And the reason why Dr. Martin Luther King got assassinated is not because he somebody white was hating on him. No, that's not why he got assassinated. Dr. Martin Luther King realized that he led his people to the Democratic Party, and that he thought it was a mistake. He thought the Democratic Party could give us racial equality and social justice, build economic wealth, and that wasn't it. He realized that it was a mistake. He led his people, or us, to the mistake, basically. I'll link this article in the description section so you guys could take a read. It's in the Times. It's 10 historians on what people still don't know about Dr. Martin Luther King. So read that.
And I think that's something that we need to wake up to.
In 1865, you were talking about the Black codes, right?
That's right.
Enacted to make it a crime for a Black person to carry a gun
Exactly.
in the South. But you're equating that to the current president? You're referring to economic chains? What are you saying?
Well, I was referring to Joe Biden's, I think, ill-chosen expression to say they're the party that wants to put you back into chains. What I'm actually saying is that if you look at the policies of the modern Democratic Party.
Democrats.
Absolutely. So what I'm saying is that actually it's policies like that of Lyndon Johnson and Joe Biden that are actually holding Black Americans back.
The war on poverty?
Yes, and in particular, his Great Society, where he actually created incentives in the family, where if you're a family, you could actually get more money by not having the father in the home. Guess what you get? You get what you pay for. And I think it's been really bad for the Black community. I think it's really bad for all Americans.
Do you have anything on this before I move on to China?
I don't see what one has to do with the other, but go on.
Why doesn't Don Lemon see what one has to do with the other? Why is he so unintelligent to connect the two? Increasing welfare with not having a father in the home, and your man can't find a job, okay, so you're gonna have to go. So I could get this money from the government. And Don Lemon can't put the two together.
And I took up a lot of time with Fox.
Oh, it's fine. We have time.
I don't really see what one has to do with the other, especially consider and using the Civil War to talk about Black Americans. That war was not fought for Black people to have guns. That's not.
That war was fought for Black people to have freedoms in this country. Yeah. Actually, that's.
The war was fought to have freedoms. Freedoms, not just to be free, but freedoms in the country. And one of those things is to have a gun. Okay? He's trying to put it all in one bucket. Oh, it wasn't fought to have guns. No, it's fought so you could do the same thing your white counterpart could do. I don't understand why he doesn't understand this.
That's why the Civil War was fought.
Okay,
and the sad
but that
part
wasn't
about
fought for Black people to have guns. I think
Actually, you know, funny fact is black people did not get to enjoy the other freedoms until their Second Amendment rights were secured. And I think that that's one of the lessons that we learned.
Still aren't allowed to enjoy the freedoms.
I disagree with you on that, Don. I disagree with you. And I think you're doing a disservice to our country by failing to recognize the fact that we have equality before the law.
And you live in this country, then you can disagree with me. But we're not. You mentioned in here that we have three different shades of melanin.
Don, I think we have to be able to talk about these issues in the open, regardless of the color of our skin. Black Americans today, to say that, compare that to 1865 and 1964,
I think for you to compare it to 1865 and 1964 is actually, I think it's insulting to black people. It's insulting to me as an African American. I don't want to sit here and argue with you.
Don, I don't know how much Don Lemon make, but he's trying to say that we don't have equal rights in this country. That's what they want you to believe. They want you to believe that if you go to the store down the street, somebody gonna go, oh nigga, what you doing in here? Why you in this store? He actually wants you to believe you can go to whatever school you aspire to go to. If you work for it, you could get the grades. If you could afford to pay, okay, because school ain't free. He wants you to believe that. He wants you to believe that you cannot own a home. He wants you to believe that. He wants you to believe that only you could stay in this hood area and not venture out and go buy a house. He don't want you to believe that you could become an astronaut, an engineer, a scientist, a doctor, a lawyer. He wants you to believe that you are in chains. This is modern day slavery because white supremacy exists and it's real. I'm Don Lemon and he makes $10 million a year, but he wants you to believe that y'all in some chains. I'm not free. Massa, I'm not free. You're not black. Massa got me down in chains. He wants you to believe that. So Don, if you could do it, why can't anybody else, any other black man do it?
Because it's infuriating for you to put those things together. It's not right. Your telling of history is wrong. What part of the history?
Don Lemon, this is what you could tell Don Lemon. He probably didn't have a daddy. I could tell just by how he's acting. Your telling of history is wrong. Have you even read a goddamn book? Like you could look up 1865, the Black Code, and it literally lays out what the laws that was enacted. So why is that telling that? Why is he telling the history wrong? Why is he saying the policy that Lyndon B. Johnson enacted with the welfare system was wrong? How's that not? It's documented in history. It's documented in history that 80% of homes was from a two-parent home in the 60s. To now, there's 25% two-parent homes, like literally 25. It's probably less than that. 24% two-parent homes in the black community. This is documented. Why is he saying, oh, your telling of history is wrong? I know Don, he never had a real man like beat him up because it's like, oh, you're telling history. Like Don, you really never had an interaction with a real man for real. Because why are you having a hissy fit? Because he's stating like history and facts. Why are you having a hissy fit over that?
History was wrong.
What part of the history was wrong? That the Civil War was fought. You're making people think that the Civil War was fought for black people, only for black people to get guns and for black people to have.
The Civil War was fought for black people in this country to get freedoms.
He keeps on saying the Civil War was fought for black people to get freedoms. He keeps on saying that. He didn't say, oh, it's fought to get guns. No, freedoms like the other people have. Don, what is wrong with you?
A noble mission. And I think that even after we succeeded, we had to actually secure those freedoms.
To reduce it in a speech at the NRA, to say you're making people think, or you're trying to say that black people to get guns, that was the reason that you're there at the NRA. That was the reason for the Civil War.
It
I
is
think
a
that's
fact.
reductive.
It's not
and
reductive,
I think it's
Don.
insulting. There are a whole plethora of reasons that for
Look,
the Civil
with due
War,
respect, I find your explanation reductive and actually insulting, including to black Americans, to say that black people today, compared to 1964, 1865, haven't made progress in part because of the freedoms we secured. And the Second Amendment was
black
part
people,
of what secured
hang on,
that
please.
freedom.
I cannot keep a thought if you guys are talking to me in my ear. So hang on 1 second. So to say that black people, say what you said again.
Black people secured their freedoms after the Civil War. It is a historical fact, Don. Just study it. Only after their Second Amendment rights were secured.
They
That's
were
a
not
fact.
secured their freedoms after the Civil War. That is not, you are discounting Reconstruction. You're discounting a whole host of things that happened after the Civil War when it comes to African Americans, including the whole reason that the Civil Rights Movement happened is because black people did not secure their freedoms after the Civil War, and that things turned around. People tried to change the freedoms that were supposed to
And you know
happen
how they got
after the
it?
Civil War
They got their
and
Second Amendment
Reconstruction.
rights, and they actually got, the NRA played a big role in that. But today, Don, the
NRA did not play a big role
absolutely,
in
they
that.
trained
That
black Americans
is
how
a
to use
lie.
firearms.
That's a lie. That's not. The NRA did not play a big role in
This
that.
is just historical fact. But
It's
Don,
not historical fact.
the part that I
Just
find
because you say it's historical
the
fact,
part that
it's
I
not
find
historical
insulting is when you say today black Americans don't have those rights after we have
The
gone
fact
through
that I find
civil rights
insulting
revolution
is
in this
that
country.
You are sitting here telling an African American about the rights and what you find insulting about the way I live, the skin I live in every.
The fact that you are telling me, an African American, about I live in this skin. I make $10 million a year. You haven't lived my life. I've been on CNN for 20 years making millions of dollars, and you're telling me I'm free. So insulting. Because you're not black.
Every day.
Here's where you and I
know
have
the
a different
freedoms
point
that
of view.
black and white that black people don't have in this country, and that black people do have.
Well, here's where you and I have a different point of view. I think we should be able to express our views regardless of the color of our skin. We should have this debate
I'm not saying you
without
shouldn't
me
express your
regarding
views,
you as a
but I think
black
it's
man,
insulting that
but
you're
me
sitting
regarding you
here,
as a fellow citizen.
that you're
That's what I
sitting
think we should
here,
see.
whatever ethnicity you are, explaining to me.
Whatever. You hear that? No, he didn't. Whatever ethnicity you are. Okay, Don? Okay. Just imagine if a white man said that. Whatever you are. Just imagine if a white man would have said whatever you are. If Don was white, Don would have been fired. The stuff that he have said on air that's so offensive, and he's telling this man whatever race you are, he's saying it's offensive for him to say, oh, what black people went through because he's not black. But he's just showing history. He's just telling history.
Whatever ethnicity
About
I'm,
what it's like to be black.
Whatever
in America.
ethnicity I'm, I'll tell you what I am. I'm an Indian American. I'm proud of it. But I think we should have this debate. Black, white, doesn't matter.
I think we should have this
on
debate.
the content of the
If you're
ideas.
going to do it, you should do it in an honest way and in a fair way. And what you're doing is not an honest and fair way. Okay? But we appreciate you coming on.
With
Thank
due
you for
respect,
that.
Don, I look forward to
Thank you very
continuing
much.
that
I appreciate
conversation.
it. We'll
Thank
continue
you.
the conversation.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you, Pop.
We'll talk about China.
Yes, let's talk about
Next
China.
time you come back.
Oh, thank you. Much to say on declaring independence from China.
Okay,
Something you
can
can
we
add
move on now, please?
Thank you.
Don Lemon is a little B word. Okay. If I could say Don Lemon is a bitch. He is. And I don't think he's been raised. He wasn't raised by a man. He just, because he acts too bitchy. For some reason he just got that, oh, I'm a woman, I'm a diva vibe. And you cannot possibly be raised by a man when you have that. I just had to look it up, you guys, because maybe that's what his problem is. Don Lemon was born to Catherine Clark and father William Richardson. So Don, his upbringing was in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He revealed in 2011 that his father was married to another woman while in a relationship with his mom. So Don is what is it called? An illegitimate baby. Look, on the other hand, Don's mother was also married to another man, but divorced him because he wasn't treating her right. That's what he said. That's in quotations. He said, he recalled, so I told her, Mom, I'm really sad about John and our relationship. She asked me what kind of relationship we had, and I told her, he was my lover. That's when I started to cry. What is this about? What is this? This is, he was my lover. What? Oh, that's when he was coming out. Okay, so Don, look, Don's late father, Wilman Richardson, was an attorney who is remembered for being part of a lawsuit that was successfully challenged the segregation of public transportation in the family's hometown, Baton Rouge. When the host was a child, Wilman died due to health complications brought on by diabetes. So he did have a dad, but it was his stepdad. At five, she told him. So maybe that's when they divorced. You guys, let me know what you think about this. Let me know if Don is right that other people can't speak about Black people in the history of Black people because they're not Black. I just don't agree with that. I just think that's a ridiculous thing. And I think that, like the liberal media and the progressive, want you to believe you still in chains, that you don't have the civil freedoms like everyone else does. They want you to be scared. They want you to be divisive. They want you to divide and conquer. That's what they want you to do. Keep up a bunch of commotion. You don't need to talk to your neighbor. You need to be mad with your neighbor, because I'm going to come over here and I'm going to rule power over you. I'm sending all my good to you. I'll talk to you soon.